Star Wars only. I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
Freddie Prinze Jr. is the voice actor for Kanan Jarrus, Caleb Doom, I don't know what the fuck you want to call him, for Star Wars Rebels. And he went on a nice little rant. I'm pretty confident this happened earlier in the year, but it's just now making the waves for Star Wars fans. It's a good 3 minutes and 22 seconds. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I am going to go through sections of it and give you my thoughts on it because that's Star Wars now.
I did a Star Wars cartoon, so even I get hate from Star Wars fans when I'm like, look, dog, you're just mad the franchise isn't aging with you.
Right.
But that ain't how it works. The first one was for fucking kids.
Right.
The second 3 were for different fucking kids, and this one is for kids.
So far, he is absolutely correct. A lot of people were not happy that the franchise didn't age with them, specifically when the prequels came out. And yeah, they're for kids is an argument that we'll discuss a little further, but let's keep going.
You just pissed off that Han Solo gave the fucking Millennium Falcon to a girl.
Yes.
That's it.
I don't think Han Solo ever gave the Falcon to Rey. I don't know if you've seen The Force Awakens, but Han died and offered Rey a job on the ship like a few hours before, but he never gave it to her. He just died, and she kind of took over. I don't think anyone was mad about that, but if you are, yeah, that's stupid. But anyways.
Because Luke Skywalker's Cinderella. Or Sleeping Beauty,
Yeah.
okay? He can talk to things that don't speak English and understands what they're fucking saying. He gets a fairy godfather instead of a fairy godmother who teaches him how to be the best Jedi in the world in no time fucking flat.
Okay, I get really tired of this anti-Luke Skywalker shit like this kind of narrative. How many of you have actually seen the original trilogy? Freddie, have you actually seen the original trilogy? Because stuff like this always irks me. He did not learn to become a Jedi in no time flat. It wasn't until the end of Return of the Jedi, after he defeated his father and defied the Emperor, that he truly became a Jedi. Have you seen Star Wars, Freddie? Even in A New Hope, people say, oh, well, he destroyed the Death Star and he was brand new. If you watch the film, and I know a lot of you haven't because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, including Freddie, they specifically say constantly that Luke is a good pilot. And you see in A New Hope, when he's training with Obi-Wan a little bit, that he gets his ass kicked by the droid and then he does a little better. And then in Empire Strikes Back, he trains with Yoda, and then he gets his ass kicked by Vader. So he doesn't become the greatest Jedi in the world, and he barely beats Vader at the end. And when he beats Vader, it's because he's using the dark side, and he realizes that, and he's like, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm gonna be a Jedi like my father before me," and he defies the dark side.
Have you seen Star Wars?
And everybody, like, I know more about the Force than most people because Dave Filoni taught me and George Lucas taught him. And all these video games have fucked people up on what the Force is. Like, Luke's skill doesn't dictate whether he wins or loses.
Right.
The Emperor doesn't dictate whether he wins or loses. The Force dictates who wins or loses based on balance.
Okay, I agree on the point that video games have messed up people's conception of Star Wars. I've said since The Force Unleashed came out and Knights of the Old Republic and specifically SWTOR, all those games, first of all, they're video games, so no shit you're going to be overpowered. But the abilities that those characters have are extremely overpowered. I mean, I know I've complained about Rey being a little overpowered in the sequels, but my god, Starkiller could do whatever the hell he wanted. He could bring down a Star Destroyer from the atmosphere. That stuff is absolutely crazy and completely overpowered. And a lot of fans looked at that as the, will-all-be-all kind of Star Wars Force abilities. But I feel like that's a very small minority of Star Wars fans. And even now, I think a lot of us can look at those and say, they're video games. The entire point is almost to be overpowered. The more realistic a video game gets, the less interesting it is for a lot of us because we want to go and do super cool stuff. I really want to talk about this whole balance of the Force thing, and I'm also not a fan of the whole...
These are George Lucas's words, not mine, so fuck you if you disagree with me.
Well, alright buddy, fuck you too, because I could give a shit what Lucas had to say about the matter. I love the man to death, but let's be honest, he wrote Jar Jar Binks to say P-U-S-A when the thing farted in its face and he stepped in the poopy poo and it was supposed to be funny. Yeah, I don't take Lucas's word to heart like a lot of these other prequel fans do. But anyways, the idea that the balance of the Force is what dictates everything in the Star Wars universe is beyond mind-numbingly boring and makes every character arc entirely pointless. What's the point of Luke training and trying to redeem his father in the light if the Force was going to dictate it in the first place? What's the point of Palpatine rising to power if the Force was going to dictate that he was going to lose anyways? If that's the case, then why am I watching these films? Why are you watching the films? You bring me a scale, Freddie, because you talk about the balance of the Force, and it didn't make much sense when he said that it's Palpatine and Vader, and those are the two Sith Lords, the dark side users, and right after that, Leia and Luke were born, so it brought balance to the Force. They're babies! They're infants! If the Force dictates who wins, why didn't we just send the infant children to go take on the dark side? Because the Force would have said, nah, they gotta win because they're the good guys and balance of the Force. Why didn't that happen, Freddy? Why did they have to go through trials and tribulations to get where they need to be in order to overcome the dark side? Now I can never watch another Star Wars movie again because I can say, oh, well, at the end it doesn't matter. It's all going to be balanced out. Freddy, you bring me a scale. I want you to bring me a scale that in the middle it says balance of the Force. And on the left side, I want to see the light side. And on the right side, I want to see the dark side of the Force. And you put the characters and the balance and all the shit that goes into it to make it completely perfectly balanced. You show me that scale. And when you show me that scale, I'll testify that you're absolutely correct. Because there's not just Luke and Leia and Sidious and Vader. I don't know if you remember, but you were in Star Wars Rebels. There's 2 Jedi in that with you, Ezra. Who else is there? Ahsoka, she's a light side user, even though... Wait, isn't she a gray Jedi? He says gray Jedi don't exist, but then what the fuck is Ahsoka? If she's not a gray Jedi, I don't know what is. And I agree that gray Jedi aren't the greatest idea in the world and there's some fan fiction stuff that shouldn't be canon. But then what the hell is Ahsoka? What's great about the original trilogy is it's about the good guys overcoming the bad guys, the light side beating out the dark, and the light side won at the end. I wouldn't say that there was balance in the Force at the end of Return of the Jedi when it truly was just the light side that had won. And that's great, because the good guys beat the bad guys. It's a simple story. But if you're trying to make it where it's the balance of the Force and the good guys and the bad guys have to coexist, okay, well then, what's the point? What's the point if it's all dictated by the Force? What's the point if they have absolutely no control over what their actions and what the outcome is going to be if everything is dictated by the Force? And if that is the case, Freddy, let's just say you're right. Because I could, like I said, I could care less if you were taught by Dave Filoni or George Lucas. You're the same guy who said that Scooby-Doo should be taught in literature at schools. I take your opinion with a grain of salt. But if Lucas did say that, if that is the entire point of the Force in the story that we're going for, how come this has never, ever once been explained in the movies? I could care less about the expanded universe or the books that have come out. I think none of that has any impact on the films. It's just filler stuff to keep fans happy. But in the end, why don't we see that in the films? Why don't we get told that the balance of the Force and the Force dictates everything that happens, and that basically every character arc is meaningless because they have no say in the matter, basically, because the Force is what decides it before it even happens? If that's the case, why have we never seen that in the movies? I'd love to see that in movies. That would be an interesting story arc to explore. But we haven't seen it, Freddy. So, excuse me for not knowing it, I guess. So you know what, Freddy? I do disagree.
Again, not my opinion. George Lucas's. So go fuck yourself if you disagree.
And you can go fuck yourself too because of it. It is absolutely idiotic that 3 grown men are sitting here talking about how Star Wars is for fucking kids. They gotta keep using the F-bomb, and I gotta use it too because it's for fucking kids, right? Even though we rated, what was it, Revenge of the Sith PG-13, and Lucas himself said that you wouldn't take a 5 or 6-year-old to the movie. Is it not for kids, Freddy? Did Anakin not kill a bunch of younglings at the end of it? That's one of the great things about Star Wars, is that it appeals to us all. There's the innocence of childhood and the coming-of-age story that we see when we watch the original trilogy, and we all want to be Luke Skywalker and go on this grand adventure. There's also the religious perspective of the good side and the light side, but it's kind of an odd religious perspective of, well, it doesn't really matter what God does, because Satan's still going to be there and be equally as powerful. Whoa, hold up a minute. No, the good side is supposed to win. The light side is supposed to overcome the darkness. And if that's not the case anymore, if it's always going to be balanced and there's going to be light side and dark side, and the characters have no implications and no factor in the matter, then what's the point, Freddy? What's the point of all this if it's all dictated by this unknowing force that we still don't know entirely about? What's the point? Damn it. I'm a grown man debating another grown man about Star Wars, which is for fucking kids. Don't forget, it's for kids. But honestly, Freddy, you played Fred in Scooby-Doo when I was a kid, and therefore I respect you for that, because that was a big part of my childhood. And I don't hate everything that he says, I just disagree with him on what he thinks about the Force and his perspective of these movies and whatnot. And he's absolutely right that some people were mad about Han Solo handing off the Falcon to Rey after he passed away. That kind of became her ship. People were mad about Rey from the get-go, saying that it was a female lead protagonist, and they didn't like that. They also didn't like Finn because he was a black stormtrooper. Stuff like that is absolutely stupid. That's also the most toxic part of the internet. What do you expect is going to happen on the internet, Freddy? Tell me your thoughts, guys. What do you guys think about Freddy's take on this? What do you think about mine? Give me your thoughts. Who do you think's right or wrong? I mean, neither of us really care. And like Freddy says, if you disagree with me, go fuck yourself.